Good morning. Today is March 31st. It's 8:38 a.m. It's the professor coming at you. I was been getting a lot of questions regarding my clout lines and wanted to do actually a follow-up video or kind of an update of as I've changed some of the color coding on my lines. I just want to update it a little bit more and kind of show you first how I draw them and then what lines I use for what, and go over some little tidbits here and there. So we'll just get started. The way I do this first is right here we have the daily cloud. You can kind of see, I'm not going to go over what my cloud settings are. They're basic. I just get rid of all the leading lines. There's another video on how I set that up, but here it is. I used to have a green background. I made it a kind of a white background just so you can see it a little bit more easier and so forth. I use TC2000 for charting, even though I'm a futures trader. However, I like the simplicity, much easier of TC2000 than I do of Ameritrade or some of the other things I used to trade futures. So, so I basically chart based on SPY and then, kind of do the conversion, and typically 10 ES points is equal to 1 SPY point, give or take a little bit, so you have to adjust them. But first and foremost, the way I do this is if we're in a cloud, here's a section of the cloud that we're currently in. I'm going to highlight this real quick. You can kind of see this is the cloud that we're in. Once we're within a cloud, I typically use both sides of the cloud. I concentrate more on the left-hand side, but I do also look at the right-hand side. When it's a long line like right here, I use yellow. Yellow lines tend to be longer compression zones, use them more as true pivot points, while these other little sections and breaks I use blue lines on, and those will also act as support or resistance, but maybe only hit once or twice, may not typically be a compression zone, but very rarely does a stock go directly through a line to the next line unless it's news driven. So if there's some news that's driving the market or whatnot, then everything is thrown out the window. But when you have a quiet day and it's just technical based, you'll find a lot of times that these lines will act as both support or resistance, and you just kind of have to read the market and use some of these other indicators to help you gauge which direction it's going. That's the hard part. I use a couple different things. I use sweeps. I use price action, obviously. I use the leading indicator at oneoption.com, which you have to pay for, but it's a great indicator. So all those little things help me. I urge everyone to figure out for themselves how best to use these lines. I get asked all the time, can you use these on stocks? I concentrate on one symbol. I have used them, and yes, they do work. But stocks tend to be more news driven, so then the lines don't work as well. While while the futures is kind of it's news driven as well, but it's just such a big basket, so it's more technical in nature. Anyway, let's get rid of this circle here and let's get started by drawing my first lines. Just real quick, if we're outside, like if you look over here and we're outside of this particular cloud right here, then I go and use the left hand side. So if we're trading, let's say we're looking at this chart right here, I would use the most left, which is basically way over here. Okay. But right now we're in the cloud, so I'm going to draw these lines. I'm going to just try to scoot in as far as possible. I take my line right here. I start with my yellow lines, which is the big flat lines I'm looking for. Like right here is a great line. You guys have heard me talk about this one. I actually called it close to the penny with this line just a few days ago. And then I like to kind of round it up if I can make it 1 or 2 pennies less. So right now I'm going to leave it at 396.50. It's pretty accurate. I could probably go down 5 cents, but I don't need to. Then my next line down is going to be a blue line right here at this point, this mark right here. This is all flat in between. So there's a nice gap between 396.50 and 394.58. So we're going to mark that with a blue line. I'm going to draw all my blue lines. So I'm going to set that as my default. want to try to round this, so I'm going to go see. Yeah, there we go. I get to 394.60, and then I'm going to draw my next one, which is going to be right around that level there. There's actually one above it on this point, but I'm going to leave that one alone for right now. I'm just going to draw these two right now, because right now I think we're going to move through the market, so I'll just leave it like this. I think this will act as support. If we break through this yellow line, I will add more lines. But right now, I want to just concentrate on this cloud right here. Not so much worried about this section over here. More staying within the cloud unless we break below it and start trading way over here. Then I'll start worrying about this. But right now, this is my big support. I don't know what this is on ES right off the top of my head. I think we broke through the cloud this morning, actually, on some reports. So the first thing I'm going to draw is I want to draw the breakout of the cloud, which to me is going to be this on this candle right here. Okay, I want to see what that line is to break out of it, which is right, almost right there. Now this line will change a little bit because the next candle that tomorrow will be a little different, but for today I'm just going to use it as the breakout because it may act as a support. You know, right now we're trading above it. We may trade back down it before we jump back up on it. So right now this 404.43, let's see if I can get that to 45, just so easier to calculate, or maybe even 40. Hold on here. That's good enough for me. So I'll use that. So then I'm going to start drawing some of these other lines. I don't really see any yellow lines here. They're all small markers, so I'm just going to look for mark there. Right here on this point. It's wherever the breaks are. And what these are basically, you know, the cloud's made up of a whole bunch of different moving averages, and these are just, these clouds are formed based on historic price action, but it calculates so many different types of moving average and then projects all of that in the future. So these things are actually stay accurate. Once you draw them, you really don't need to move them. The cloud changes very little. Okay, so that's good. I want to change it just a little bit to the right, to there, 65. That one's good. So right now I'm just drawing the left-hand side. Right there is one on this point. I'm going to make it round it up just by a unit. Okay, next one is right there. Okay, and I'm going to move it up 1 penny just to round it. Okay, there's nothing here in between these two lines except for over here, down over here. So I may draw this one. If we were to break below this 401.65, I'm actually going to kind of make that a red line because I want to know that if it breaks below that, there's actually a big gap that's possible to get down. I mean, the next support would be like right in here. So this yellow line will come back into play. So I want to know what that is. So I'm going to leave that there as a crucial line, make it red. All right, now I'm going to draw the right-hand side, and I'm just going to use some white lines for that. All right, that's where my white lines come from. They don't work as effectively, but they are valid. So there's one. I'm going to make that. Let's see if I can get it down to 460. Yes, I can. Draw one more there on this point right there. Okay, make that a white line and make that 495 cents. And this is going to be the left-hand side, so I'm going to go back to my blue. See, there's one actually right above it right here. So I may actually move my blue up a little bit because there's a spot right above it. This line right here is 403.65 with this little dip. That's kind of like the bottom of, you know, the next few days. As long as that holds, is very positive. So this 403.65 is going to be very important for me to watch today. Then let me just draw the rest of these blue lines. Right here's one. Okay, that's perfect. And then right above it, there's some small one. There's one here, but that's just so tight. I'm going to leave it. I mean, I can draw that. It's just some support to get through before we break out of this cloud. And then right there. And so once price breaks above this 406.99, I'll call it 407, we have to start using all the way this left side of the cloud way over here. And you can kind of see we have one more. We would have one more right here. to go through, and then a gap up and a gap up right here to this 416.34, and then the next one is way up here. So you just keep using the left of the cloud till we set an all-time high. Someone asked me about, well, what happens if we have an all-time high? You have no more cloud. Well, that's a great problem to have. Here you go. Here's the last cloud at 469, or what is it, 460 basically, and then above it there's a little gap. So then you start using price movement or price action. This becomes support. Eventually it's going to trade right back down again. So nothing is going to keep going without the cloud. But you know, that's a good thing to have. You just trade the momentum. So anyway, so here are our lines. I just drew them for today using the daily. We can now go see what the price action is actually looking like today by going into a 5-minute chart. And you can kind of zoom in and get these even more on point. Like, you know, if, see this blue line, I'm actually going to move this blue line up a little bit because it hit this point and this point. And I know it'll be a little bit above where the breakout is, but I'm okay with that. So all these are pretty much on point, so I'm okay. So now I go to a 5-minute chart. You know, I kind of scroll out. Here are my lines that I just drew. That red line is important for me to hold. You can kind of see we almost touched it yesterday and kind of see what it looks like. Here's that bottom of the cloud line. Oh, I got to scroll down a little bit so you can see here those 3 top lines. I'm going to make this one green just so that I know that that's the very top of the cloud before I have to go to the left cloud and have to draw more lines. So if we trade above 404.95, there may be a nice little run up right there. So here we are of that. If you look at it on a 1 minute, you can even see it better. It's just the gaps in between. Okay. And now I'll see what the action looks like today by going to pre-market action. There we go. See, I just drew these lines today, and you can kind of see what it's done. We tried to get up in this gap and then traded back down, tested this 404.57 level. We had some economic news out this morning, and you can kind of see this level right here today. It looks like it's been trading around that 404 level. This 403.65 level is most important to me. If we break down below it, you know, we traded down below it a little bit, so I'd probably want to see below, right here below this 404.43. You kind of got to use it, or you can kind of draw a zone on it too by just kind of taking what the pre-market was with that line, you know, and then you can say, all right, there we go, based right on this 403.65 right there. If we break below that, that may be a trade to go to 402.60, and you just have to kind of gauge it. That's how you use this. All right, so these are the cloud lines based on the daily. You can also go in a weekly if you wanted to and kind of see what that looks like, where we are in it. You know, we've entered back into the cloud. Right now, this level right up here, to break out of it, we'd have to trade up all the way to 414.70. Which on the daily is, you know, way up here somewhere. You know, you're talking back in here. So these clouds are, you know, this is very doable to get above here. So now you also have to kind of look at what's the news, you know, what's the volume, where are we going? The thing is, we've had a banking crisis. We've had, you know, some other stuff, some decent earnings, some inflation, and the market's actually going up. Wow, that's crazy. It is on low volume, but it makes you think that the market wants to go higher with any kind of good news. Doesn't mean that the rug can get pulled out from underneath you, because it certainly can. You just have to kind of gauge it day by day, tick by tick almost. So here we are. So that's how I've drawn the lines. So again, the white lines are my right side within a cloud. I don't draw the white lines when we're above the cloud or below the cloud. Well, right now, I guess I'm just doing this one because we started the day off in the cloud, but I'm just going to leave that one there for right now. And then you have your green line to draw more lines and your red line to draw more lines if needed. This yellow is support. I'd love to see a trade down here because I'd be a buyer. Or even this red line right here. I think we could trade down here. I want to see what it does. If it bounces right here, I'm probably looking to go long. And that just depends what other news has come out. So, but that's it. It's literally that simple. It takes 5 minutes to do, and these will work tomorrow, the day after, the day after, the day after, the day after. I started doing this, I don't know, about a year ago. All the lines work. They constantly work. They're they're spot on. You can kind of see. Now, do they sometimes trade below it? Is it a perfect science? No, but a lot of times it's to the penny. And the reason why that is because if you go in here, you know, you have to get these things perfectly on the line sometimes. Like this blue line right here, you know, it's perfect right here, but it's off a little bit. There's actually a little white line right below it right here. But I like to round it up just so I have an idea what the ballpark is. You know, if I try to get it exact, I spent way too much time just trying to get it absolutely perfect, which is not a bad thing, but at the same time, it's hard when you're also trying to trying to gauge what the ES is and so forth. So this morning, right now, we are trading at, I don't have my thing up, but hold on, let me see here. I think this is 447. So this is we're at 490.50 right around here. So if that's the case, then 404.57 would be, I don't know, about 2 points. So be about 488, somewhere around there. So, and I'll adjust this at the open because I'll have a better gauge. I haven't even looked at it. So I just kind of type in my my ES equivalent, and then I'll calculate the rest of them. So there's about 57 cents difference, which is about 5.7. So that's about I'll call it 483, give or take. Here you can see about a 40-cent difference. So we'll call this, for right now, we're going to call this 480. And we may have to adjust it just so, because I trade ES. And then here's the big one. There's a 1 point difference here. So that's 470. So this white line right here is kind of my, you know, if we trade below this 480, then we may see this 470. That may be a good buy because we just had a big gap down, and then it may trade back up. Although it's close to the red line, so you want to be aware of that. And then this next one is 6 point difference, right? 402.60 to 402.60 cents. So that's 6 points. So that's 40.64. And then this last red line, before we have to draw other lines, there's about we'll call it a 35.4 difference. So we'll call it about 460 or so. And now these may be off 1 or 2, so you got to pay attention. You know, sometimes I miss a trade because I'm like, oh, I didn't hit my 460. It went right to 461, and it should have been 461 because I didn't do it accurately. And then to the upside, you know, we add 40 cents right here. So 492 roughly. That's a right-hand side one, so probably won't work as well, but I'm going to have it up anyway. And then if it breaks through that, which it did right here, so I'm expecting that to actually retest this and then eventually trade up into this level. And that 404.95, that's, I'm trying to do math here. That's about 15 points, right? That's 1.5, so 4.445. Yeah, about 15, 16 points. So we'll call that, what do we call that? Oops, I just drew an extra line. I did not mean to do that. Get rid of that. 16 points, so that's 8, 9, 18. God, why can't I add? Hold on. Even I have to use a calculator sometime, and I'm old school. All right, about 41.08. Give or take. I'll have to adjust these shortly. The next one is 410. And that's what I would look for at the upside before this green bar gets hit. This is this level right here, this in-betweener, for like 410, 411, somewhere in there. And then 2 more after that, so about 412 right there. So there's my range. My range is this 412 to about 470 is what I'm looking for. If I can get a close here, but if I can get an open above 4092 and a want to see a higher high above this level, this 405.42, and sometimes I will draw a white line. Also, the purple lines that you see I draw, I go into my daily. And here I have a 200-day moving average right here, okay? And so normally I would make this a purple line because I know that's a daily, and then I would change this to a 50, see where the 50-day is, which is right now the big support. So 50-day is kind of just zoom on in, and I'll take another line right here, and I'll just kind of put it right on that, and then edit and make it purple. And there's my 50-day moving average, which if we break this red line, then I do have to watch right here that this is going to be support and see if we bounce. If we break below it, then it's only a stronger move down to 396.50 most likely. Okay, that was my video. Hopefully that clears up some of the lines that I use. It's just kind of an update on how I draw my lines on the last video. We can see if we see some trades here. We're about half an hour away from the open. Right now I don't see too much. We've really been trading in this between this zone of 483 and 488, trading above as long as we trade above this 488 zone, that's I think that's bullish. I think that personally I think that we are going to see higher highs and test the upper zone. Now that doesn't mean that at some point, this zone right here, that doesn't mean at some point that we can trade down right here, because market, you know, people may want to try to get in cheap, the big dudes, so they may try to, you know, cut us down to this level. But you know, I right now because of where we are in the cloud, I would look to go long on you know, any downside. Now next week is going to be a different story because there's going to be a whole lot more action going on in terms of reports and so forth. So we're also at the end of the quarter, so I think that the hedge funds and so forth, they want their bonuses. So you know, probably most of them have gone a little bit more long now that we out of the banking crisis, and or maybe out of the banking crisis, who the hell knows. You know, and that inflation is starting to come down a little bit, so there may be a bottom fishing and want to make you know, higher returns for the quarter. So you know, you may see an uptick. I don't know, but that's my guess. Okay, I hope this was a good video. You know, let me know. Thanks. Oh, hit like and obviously come join my channel.